Episode. Patriots still coming off a loss. They fell 41-21 to the Houston Texans. Go to 1-5 on the year. But May watch in New England. Drake Maye's debut.
Yes. 243
passing yards, 3 touchdowns. 2 of those touchdowns, 35 and 40 yards.
Yep.
Yes, 2 interceptions, but we saw the flashes on why he was a number 3 overall pick. And this looked like a competent offense with big playability.
Yes.
Trav, we're feeling good. How you feeling today, my man?
Moral victory is how I'm feeling, George. It was a loss, but we knew coming into the season this team was going to lose an ton of games. That ain't no shocker, but we saw the future, and the future is now Drake Maye showing us flashes, pops, that he's going to be just fine. I love it, GB.
So that's what is the big part, and this is the important thing for fans. Like, if anyone was going into Sunday thinking the Patriots are going to win, I love your optimism. Keep it. But bottle it up for next year and the year after when the real building blocks are built around this Drake Maye. And if Drake Maye can get out of this season in one piece, because he has 11 games remaining where he's going to take a beating similar today. Still sacked 4 times, hit 10, 14 pressures, 13 of those for the Texans coming without a blitz.
Yep.
But Trav, what do you walk away from this game feeling about Drake Maye making his Patriots debut? And again, this passing game showing layers we haven't seen. The first time they've cracked 20 points this season. And Drake Maye in one game has more touchdown passes than Jacoby Brissett had in his previous 5 starts.
Right now, currently, I have more faith in Drake Maye, the player, than I do the franchise responsible for building around Drake Maye. I mean, look at this game, George. It's a microcosm of what, unfortunately, I think the future could be. In this game alone, he had no time. He has no weapons. Pop Douglas is not a bona fide number 1 wide receiver. He is a good player, but he's really a great third option, a decent second option at best on most teams. He had no defense against the Texans at all. They put up 41 points like it was nobody's business. C.J. Stroud, by the end of this game, had his feet kicked up, chilling. Okay, please. No creativity in the play calling. Alex Van Pelt. You have a dual threat quarterback. You got him standing back there like Jacoby Brissett. What's going on there? Drake Maye played well in spite of all these things, George. I have no confidence in the franchise around him, but I have all the confidence in the world in the player, Drake Maye.
Look, if I'm a Patriots fan, I am walking away from Sunday hopeful, optimistic, and excited. Let's think about what Drake Maye just did. He threw for 243 yards, ran for another 38 on the ground. And you can tell within the system, they wanted to keep him from fleeing the pocket early, relying on his off-platform and athletic ability, which I think Alex Van Pelt should get around to. But this is a rookie quarterback, 22 years old, number 3 overall pick, with one of the worst offensive line and wide receiver rooms in the league.
Preach.
Throwing for 243, 3 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, one of which was his fault. The other one is just a hell of a play by the Texans.
It got tipped, right? Yeah.
Yes, losing his starting left tackle and left guard mid-game with a center that's a practice squad center that didn't know he was starting until Sunday morning in front of him. And overcoming all this against one of the best defenses in the NFL. There's the promise. On that touchdown pass to Kayshon Boutte, 40-yard bound, down the right sideline, dropped it in the bucket.
Yep.
A pass play in which Drake Maye and Kayshon Boutte identified the Texans are sitting on a lot of our routes. Let's go with the deep shot. In a 2-minute drill, that was on 2nd and short.
That's right.
I love that aggressiveness. Hey, if we don't get it here, cool. We have 3rd and very manageable in front of us. The touchdown pass to Pop Douglas, that came on the same pass attempt we saw twice previously. The first one, a pass he sailed over Pop's head, which was an interception. The second one, he threw behind Pop Douglas, which could have been 6, and then he got it right the 3rd time. That progress throughout the game. Patriots fans have to love what they saw from Drake Maye. I still have my worries about the play calling.
Me too.
Still have my worries about the offensive line.
Me too.
I still have my worries with him making it throughout the season.
Yeah.
But you walk away from this feeling really good, Trav.
Yeah, well, listen, about him finishing the season, right? George, we saw this guy take shots after shots against the Texans. I mean, the one where his arm got all cocked up and then he got slammed to the ground. His throwing arm at that, like, George, like, I mean, my heart skipped 7 beats. I thought it was over. He got up. He kept coming at him. The moxie, the toughness. I think this kid's going to be just fine. And that's one of the reasons why the play calling really disturbs me in a sense. Because you're not even trying to, like, utilize his gifts. George, how good would this guy be on a bootleg? on a design RPO. Give him some options. Let him get out there in the space. Is he going to throw it down the field? Is he going to tuck it and run? Give him some options here. I trust him to protect himself on the run. I'm not saying go out there and run him like a running back. But, George, I mean, the fact that they're just asking him to drop back and stand in the pocket, yeah, sure, he can do some of that, but he can also move. And it shouldn't be running for his life or trying to extend a play. And we saw him tuck and run many times today with success. These should be designed. Some of this stuff should be designed.
Yeah.
And I can't stand it. And I almost think with the play calling, you're setting him up to take sacks and to get hit and to get hurries and pressures. When as bad as this offensive line is, George, and as bad as these wide receivers are in creating separation, you could do the kid a favor by getting him on the move and buying more time for these dudes to get open, getting them on the move so the assignment for the offensive line is not as tough to stand back there and try to keep someone off of them for 5 seconds in a clean pocket. That's hard as hell to do.
Yep.
Especially against a defense they just win against in the Texans. And I know we'll talk about the schedule coming up and how maybe some of these games that we thought would be losses. Maybe now with Drake Maye in there, it's a different outcome, and we'll get to that. But in terms of the Texans, I mean, give the guy cut him a break, get him on the move, let him be creative. The lack of creativity in the play calling, I have more concerns of that getting Drake Maye beat up than the actual Drake Maye play himself. It's just ridiculous.
The one thing I'll give is Alex Van Pelt has to ease Drake Maye in against his defense with this matchup.
Fair.
And think of the other rookie quarterbacks that we've seen grown as the season has come along.
Yeah.
What they were running, what they were doing week one looks far different, and we're only 6 weeks in.
Sure.
It's the same thing. We can't do the comparisons of Drake Maye to Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels for a multitude of reasons. Those guys came out of college with a lot more starts. Those guys are working with much more competent offensive play callers.
Yeah.
Caleb Williams has the best offensive situation of any number one overall pick quarterback in NFL history because of the tackles and receivers and the run game and the tight ends he's working with, right? All that.
Yep.
I'm the same way. 26 of his 42 dropbacks were in shotgun. Heavy on 11 personnel, not a lot of empty.
Yep.
Quick 1-2 reads, but Drake Maye was going through his progressions. I would have liked to see a read option, an RPO. He was 5 for 5 on play action as well. Like, that is huge.
And they weren't running the ball effectively
at all on a day where you couldn't find any space on the ground. For Drake Maye to do that, to add into all this, that you're doing this while you couldn't run the ball without your starting running back. Again, Ramondre Stevenson was out, and Drake Maye still managed to be so successful. That's where the hopefulness, the optimism, and excitement has to come into play with Drake Maye. You couldn't run the ball. Play action was still working for him. His second touchdown pass, the one to Hunter Henry, that was out of 12 personnel. You get into the red area, you go play action, boom. You make a quick read. You got the hesitation from the linebackers, and you hit them.
Yeah.
They were 3 for 3. Well, 3 for 4. They were 3 for 4 finishing drives. Really, the fourth one, they just ran out of time and the game ended. But getting into Texans territory, and they finished the drive by scoring 2 of those deep passes.
That's right.
Is a layer of the offense that was missing. With Drake Maye, he was going out and making winning plays instead of making plays to not make mistakes.
That's right.
He wasn't dropping back and going, don't mess up. He was dropping back and going, what do I do with this football? This is what I need to do downfield.
Absolutely.
And that's a difference in degree. And this offense has to be excited. Gerard Mayo said it himself. He felt like the team and the coaching staff failed Drake Maye, and he's right.
They did.
But what you saw from Drake Maye, you have to be so pleased with. I think that is what is huge. As the game went on, he grew. That hurry-up offense they had right before halftime, that was a Kayshon Boutte touchdown. Quick, no huddle. Don't let him think. Just call plays and execute. Did a great job at that. Had a 22-yard completion of Pop Douglas, then had that deep ball to Kayshon Boutte down the right sideline.
You know what's crazy, bro? Just hearing you break that down, the no huddle, because I like that too. Most of your elite play callers in this league would stick with no huddle. Like, oh, that's working. Let's get some up-tempo stuff going at other parts of the game, not just a 2-minute drill here. And by the way, while I'm harping on this, you and I talked about this leading up to the game because Ramondre was banged up. We didn't know if he would play or not, and then we find out late that he's not going to play, right, going into the weekend. But we talked about and we knew Antonio Gibson would have more of a role in this game regardless if Ramondre played or not. George, this guy has great hands. I mean, in this game, He was not running the ball effectively. 13 carries, 19 yards. That just didn't work. Fine. Credit there to the Texans defense. But he did finish with 3 catches for 24 yards. And they were all just, I'm in trouble, dump-offs. If you can run a screen for him, or if you can line him up or put him in motion or put him in a slot. The guy played wide receiver in college. He has great hands. He's one of the backs in this league. You can move around. Here's that word again, creatively. Yet, all you get with Antonio Gibson, who's not a 3 yards and a cloud of dust kind of back, is this kind of production. That's a missed opportunity in a game where you could have utilized him in a much different way. It looked to me, I know Booty had a touchdown there, but it looked to me a lot like Pop Douglas was the only one like getting loose and having creativity within the framework of the offense. That has to change. Mm-hmm. Now, he did it because he's that kind of player. But I just believe that some of this stuff should be schemed. It should be schematically where you're getting guys open. You're using creativity. You don't get motion. You don't get I'd live for a trick play. You don't get trick plays. You don't get anything. I mean, this is as boring of an offense as I've ever seen in my life. And I hear you with, you don't want to throw too much at Drake Maye early, but it damn sure, one thing I did not see from this game in a good way, it didn't seem like Drake Maye was out of control ever. It felt like he was in control the whole game to me, which tells me logically, bring it on. Throw the kitchen sink at the kid. Open up the playbook. Let him play. He sat long enough, for God's sakes. This isn't week 1. Let's go. Let's get this. If he's out there, I got to assume he's ready. He is up to speed. I think this is a lack of creativity from this coaching staff. I know I'm harping on, obviously, Van Pelt, but Gerard Mayo, all of them. Like, you have to let this kid utilize his gifts. They always say know your personnel, right? I mean, this kid shouldn't just be tucking and running because no one's open or the protection breaks down. You should have some plays where you get them on the move. You have other pieces. Pop Douglas, Antonio Gibson. These are game-breaking type players. Use them. Use them that way. I'd like to see Pop Douglas get a couple reverses. I mean, they don't do anything. Bubble screens. Just get the ball in his hands in other creative ways, George. We're not seeing enough of that. I don't think we will.
I'm fine with the usage of Pop Douglas. I mean, he had 9 targets, 6 catches.
He could have more.
One of those going for 35. It was 92 yards. He was good after the catch. But it's the limitation of personnel with this offense. This was a static offense, though. And think about the one time when there finally was pre-snap motion, like Hunter Henry lining up in the backfield, going from tight end to fullback. And then Drake Maye has a false start. I was excited to see what would happen there, and that's them doing that after a big gain. But I'm with you. It's pre-snap motions. Yes. It's motions at the snap where you see a lot of teams succeed. And the motions at the snap is as simple as you have a pulling guard, even if you go play action and pass pro, relocating, resetting the pocket. Get Drake Maye out there on movement on the bootleg. And he said it in the game leading up, like, don't hunt off platform, stay on schedule, play within the system. Mm-hmm. What makes Drake Maye great is his off platform, is his athleticism.
That's what I'm saying.
Is playing off schedule. Don't confine him to your system, Alex Van Pelt, because really it's not that good. Let's get into what some of the key takeaways are. You kind of hit on the play calling.
Yeah.
Anything outside of that jump out to you?
Well, no. I mean, Pop Douglas, again, on this team, he is a number 1. And you got to tip your cap to him. You and I both like him. We talked about him ad nauseum in the offseason of how, like, if you got a bona fide number 1 wide receiver back when we were talking about Brandon Ayuk and all this stuff, I almost felt like Pop Douglas, and I know you felt this way, would be even better having a real number 1 receiver on the team. It would help Pop Douglas's development even more.
Yeah.
But be that as it may, you don't have that. So you're up, kid. You're the number 1 guy. And you know what? On this offense, he's doing a great job with it, which is my point of find other ways to get the football in his hands. Like, that's my thing. I understand what you're saying. Well, you're limited personnel-wise. Yeah, George, that's my point. Like, I'm doubling down on that. Because you're limited personnel-wise is why, in my opinion, you need to be more innovative.
Yeah.
If you have an embarrassment of riches in terms of weaponry, like a San Francisco when they're healthy comes to mind. You got McCaffrey and all those dudes. Like, then sure, you could run a vanilla offense and be fine. But that's what makes them great at full health, George, is you have the ingenuity and the innovation of Shanahan in that offense and all those weapons. Well, now you have a team knocking on a championship door, as we've seen them doing for years. So that's my thing. If your personnel is lacking, then you as a play caller, you as a coach, should be looking to enhance what you do have by smoke and mirrors. Fine. They don't do that enough for me. But Pop Douglas, in spite of all that, and Drake Maye are my takeaways. Both of those guys stood out in spite of the things that I'm complaining about.
Yeah, I like to see the usage of Drake Maye. A lot of shotgun. And this is a guy that struggled under center all training camp long.
That's right.
And with
the center issue.
A center you literally signed earlier this week, had 2 practices under his belt in New England, and then he's starting Sunday. Again, against this defensive front, that's tough. 26 of Drake Maye's 42 dropbacks were in shotgun. Heavy 11 personnel with some 12 mixed in. Not a lot of empty sets, always having a tight end on the field. We saw that emergence of Keyshawn Boutte with Tyquan Thornton scratched. KJ Osborne was a non-factor, but when you have Pop Douglas and Kendrick Bourne, you can only get so redundant on the outside. I liked what I saw from Pop Douglas. He was a man beater. He's a chain mover, but he was getting open, and he was the guy. He was his security blanket, the safety net for Drake Maye. There's a clear connection between the two of them. 9 targets, 6 catches, 92 yards, 1 touchdown. The first receiver for the Patriots to go 90-plus yards receiving since Kendrick Bourne, December 24th, 2022, in that loss to the Bengals. First time in almost 2 years.
Wow.
That's big. They got that from Pop. The offensive line, I'm always going to go back to that, and that stuck out to me. Again, you lose your starting left tackle and left guard mid-game, who really were backups, but they were your starters.
Sure.
You start out with a center that didn't know he was starting until the morning, and he's just figuring out how to get to Gillette Stadium, let alone how to run the playbook.
Me?
The Drew scheme. Me?
I'm starting.
Against them? Yeah, Ben Brown, welcome to New England. And that's a guy that was like primarily a right guard at Ole Miss.
Yes.
And has been like a center in 3 years as a practice squad guy throughout the NFL.
It's been musical chairs on that O-line, George.
Will Anderson had 3 sacks of his own.
Woo.
He had that tip on the attempted screen where Eric Murray made a ridiculous play.
Yeah.
But they finished with 4 sacks, 10 hits. So Drake Maye's getting hit 14 times.
Yep.
They also had 14 pressures. And even the last sack that Will Anderson had, that was Drake Maye, indecisive through his reads. He had 5 seconds, literally 5 seconds, counting it, tough on the stopwatch before Will Anderson swallowed him from behind. Those are the hits Drake Maye can't take. And that's when it comes to, all right, Alex Van Pelt, you're telling Drake Maye something. He has to have that internal clock. Your legs are good. Let's keep in mind, Drake Maye ran for over 500 yards his final season at UNC.
That's right.
A lot of that coming off the scramble. He's a very good, very athletic quarterback.
Yes,
we saw the flashes. He ran for 38 yards. If it helps him avoid getting hits and tell him to go out of bounds or slide, then you have to let him do that. I want to see Alex Van Pelt. Let him do more. The biggest black eye on this game, though, Trav, Patriots defense was not good today.
Terrible.
Christian Gonzalez was getting diced up by Stephon Diggs. Their run defense, Joe Mixon and Dameon Pierce, averaged 8.7 yards per attempt. They combined for 178 yards and had 2 touchdowns. So just the running backs alone ate them up. Overall, as a team, including some C.J. Stroud scrambles, almost 7 yards a rush. They ran for a total of 192 yards on this Pats defense.
Bro.
They couldn't stop anyone. At points, they were left out to dry by the offense and the bad turnovers, but this defense was bad for New England, too.
You said it. I mean, look, here's the reality, George, and you know this. We all know this. We knew this coming into the season. We don't even have to get to this point of the season to feel this way. You are not good enough as an offense to have your defense be bad, to have as many penalties, stupid penalties, as the Patriots have. And you
2
certainly
DPIs the first 2 drives.
Oh, come on. And you certainly can never lose a turnover battle. I mean, look, if your defense is bad, you get penalized and turns, you're going to lose every single game. If you can at least, this is where I put a lot of pressure and blame this week on Drake Maye. Because, hey, man, say what you want about Robert Saleh and the Jets. Like, that dude had the defensive side on point, George. And they were disciplined. They were a disciplined team. You know, they weren't getting the offensive production, obviously, and we know what happened to him. But if you're Drake Maye, bruh, you got the defense has to show up every week, and I get the injuries and the police blotter stuff. I get it. But you still have to have that defense on point. You gotta not your team can't shoot themselves in the foot with penalties. That's on a coaching staff in discipline. And then you got to win the turnover battle. If you take care of those things now, from what we've seen with Drake Maye as opposed to Jacoby Brissett, I think you're going to steal some games. I do.
We'll get into seeing on what their schedule is. Right now, let's bring in Sean McGuire. He's out at Gillette Stadium. Sean is covering the Patriots. Sean, what stuck out to you from this game, watching up close and personal out at Gillette?
I mean, I think the biggest thing is, I mean, it's not perfect. It wasn't perfect, but the biggest thing without a doubt is Drake looked good. And right? I mean, 3 touchdowns, 3 turnovers, but it looked like a professional offense. It looked like a competitive offense. And, I don't think it's any coincidence that, his first game, the Patriots, Pop Douglas goes off for 90 plus and a touchdown. They're getting contributions from Kayshon Boutte, who had the touchdown right before the half, which was, just a great drop in the bucket sort of throw from Drake. So I think there are a handful of things. I mean, they got beat 41-21, so the game wasn't competitive itself maybe, but the offense for the first time in 6 weeks was a professional offense that, it was maybe fun is, I don't know, is exciting too much of a
fun.
stretch.
You could say it was fun. It's football. It was fun.
It was fun.
I think I had fun watching the game today, and I don't think I would have said that for the first 5 weeks. So again, 41-21 loss. They got, that it is what it is, but you saw the kind of signs of the future in Drake.
Yeah, I agree, Sean. I mean, listen, I said to start the show, it felt like kind of a moral victory, which is such BS because, there's no such thing as that in sports. You win or you lose. But, yeah, sure, you lost the game.
I'm all for a moral victory today.
Me too. By the way, I mean, and coming into this, I almost, I guess, expected it in a sense because.
Expected the loss or the moral victory?
Both. Okay. Because the Texans, I think, in a vulnerable season, we'll call it for the Chiefs. It's hard to say that because they're undefeated, but in a vulnerable season for them where they don't quite feel like the juggernaut, I just think the Texans could be in the Super Bowl. Like between them or the Ravens, they feel like the team to beat other than Kansas City. So obviously New England's not in that stratosphere, okay? So I knew that coming in, that you were going to catch the L. I was anticipating a moral victory in that I just wanted to see some positive things from Drake Maye, and I saw more than what I thought I would get. So I completely agree with you there. But one thing I've noticed is around here, a lot of blame is going to Gerard Mayo. A lot of blame is going to the offensive line. I don't hear Elliott's Wolf name enough, and I damn sure don't hear Alex Van Pelt's name enough in terms of passing out some of this blame. You heard me going off on this guy's lack of creativity play calling wise. In a game where they got smoked against a superior team, am I being too rough? Or from your viewpoint, am I being fair in that this vanilla BS that he's been calling all season with both quarterbacks, it has to stop? Do you agree with that? Or am I going too hard on him?
I mean, we saw a lot of shotgun today, which is, that suits Drake. So I think that was a nice step. It's not like they threw him under center and just said, screw it, you're going to do what we do. So I think that was nice. I'll go back to the end of the first half, and I wrote about this too, so today, they have the ball, a minute left, Drake's behind center, and we've seen Alex Van Pelt get criticized, in week 2 for how he handled it against Seattle, in week 5, just last week, how he handled that end of half situation against the Dolphins, and that was with Jacoby Brissett behind center. And today, it looked different because Drake is better. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. And I think it was like just that small glimpse, that small, 40-second sample size that it really stood out to me because it started the same way as the other ones. They ran the ball on first down. They got a few yards. They let 25 seconds come off the clock. And then Drake completes a 22-yard interception. Not interception, a 22-yard completion to, I think it was Pop. Then they get a penalty, I believe. I think that was also Pop who drew that. And then just the throw that we mentioned to Kayshon Boutte down the sideline. I mean, and it was just like, it was a lift. I mean, it wasn't just a lift to the offense, but it was like an emotional lift almost in the sense that, not to make it too drastic or too dramatic here, but that is drastically different than the offense that we saw the first 5 weeks. And, Alex Van Pelt faced a lot of those questions. He talked about those end of half situations specifically, talked about how some second guesses. You want to be competitive, or you want to be aggressive, but you don't want to be stupid. And, what Jacoby set behind center, I think at that point, it was kind of fair to say that the offense was being stupid by trying to cover, 75, 80 yards at those end of half situations. And it was different today because they have a quarterback that is good, that can make throws, that can make plays. So I don't know if that answers specifically your question about the play calling, but I can't help but think the offense is trending in the right direction. And I know a lot of the players said that right after the game too.
Yeah, that right before half where they sack C.J. Stroud, get a punt, other end. They opened up with a JaMychal Hasty run, and I said, "Are you effing kidding me?" Again,
You did say it. Hey, I was there, Sean. He said it.
Yeah, and it's a point of two. You have 2 timeouts left of that part. They let 23 seconds go off between the Hasty run and the next play.
Yep.
But you said it. Demario Douglas with a long gain of 22. Then they go with the deep shot on 2nd and 3 to Kayshon Boutte, which I think is great. This is the hints I get of a Drake Maye covering up for an AVP deficiencies, because it seemed like he did want to get out of the half. Like, he ran it with Hasty. They were taking their time. Then all of a sudden they get a big game with Pop Douglas and they go, "Oh, we're cooking."
Yep.
And Eric Murray gave him a couple penalties to extend the play as well. But whatever. I'm going to focus on the good from Drake Maye. I still have my shortcomings with AVP. But Sean, after the game, Gerard Mayo said it. I failed Drake Maye. I'm sure the other coaches feel it. Mm-hmm. What did you take of Gerard Mayo at the podium saying that? And what did you hear in the locker room talking to other players about what this game meant to them, especially with Drake Maye's performance?
Yeah, so I was in the locker room. I mean, I was at Gerard. I was at Gerard's podium. I did go into the locker room after that. Gerard was pretty blunt in a lot of what he said. I mean, he put a lot on the defense. I think he said, quote, "We feel like crap right now." I'm pretty sure was the direct quote. So I think that kind of just told you, the team knows that it just got body bagged 41-21. So that, we're not going to completely avoid that. And Gerard isn't going to completely avoid that just because what he saw from Drake. But I think the mood in the locker room, especially among offensive players, was a lot better. Pop Douglas talked about, here's a quote right here. "I don't like losing, but what I've seen, the little spurts, I feel like we're moving in the right direction." Yeah. That's from Pop Douglas. I talked to Kendrick Bourne. He talked about how he really loved seeing Drake respond to big hits, that he didn't get rattled. He also said, when I was talking to him specifically about the play I was just talking about with you guys, or the drive right before the first half ended, he said, it's a positive play to score at the end of the half. And coming out of the half, we have to be better, but that drive is huge for everybody's growth and feel. Yeah. And, that's from a veteran receiver who's been in rooms. So I think that, again, I don't think they're happy with the loss or anything like that. I don't want to say that, but I do think that among the offensive players who have went through some really crappy performances over the first 5 weeks of the season, yes, I think that, to have the energy back in the locker room this week on that side of the ball, and then to go out and look like a professional offense. Again, 3 turnovers, 2 of them that set the Texans up in really good field position. I think Houston scored 17 points off those. So yes, not a perfect performance from the offense, but from what we've seen the last 5 weeks, it was much improved.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think that's well said, brother. And that's why I brought up. It depends who you lose to as well, right? Losing to the Texans, there's no shame in that when you're talking to creme de la creme, possibly of the AFC. But look, that's why I want to ask you now about Gillette, because last week I'm thinking back to that Dolphins lifeless nonsense. I mean, those fans at that game, good on you, because that game was putrid. I'd rather get a root canal than watch that nonsense again that we saw last week in Gillette.
At least the weather was nice.
The weather was beautiful, but it was atrocious. That game sucked. And then this week, they showed it on TV, people left early to beat traffic out of there. So I ask you, was it lifeless in there, or did Drake Maye provide? We're talking about the juice, the shot in the arm he gave on the field. Yeah. What was it like there, Esmeezy? Was the crowd into it when this kid was cooking, or was it lifeless like last week?
I would say it was. I would say the vibes were better than last week. I mean, Drake takes the field to an ovation. I don't want to call it a full 65,000 standing ovation, but certainly an ovation nonetheless. And it didn't take super long for the Boo Birds to come out. I mean, the Patriots had a special teams penalty on quite literally the first play of the game.
Yep. Sione Taki, welcome back, man. But it's his first time with the new kickoff rule. We'll give some grace.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but it didn't take long for the Boo Birds to come out. They certainly weren't happy with how the game ended, which I think was a little, I don't know. I mean, you're down 20 points. What do you want them to try to throw another touchdown, maybe get hit on the last play of the game?
I did.
So,
I did. No.
George had some action on.
End of game, 2-minute drill. You have your timeouts. Keep pushing it downfield.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I missed on Drake Maye rushing by 2 yards, but that's besides. It
always goes back to betting, Sean.
And again, this goes into Alex Van Pelt. Of be smart with your play calling. Tell Drake, one read, go, slide, get down, make them quick. I did want those reps, but I understand the other side of just get out of there, get him healthy, especially after that awful hit he took the third time he sacked in the game. What was the stadium like when Drake Maye, we saw his elbow basically touch his spine and go down hard?
Bro.
Yeah, I don't know if I really noticed it in the moment to the extent that I noticed it afterwards, watching the replay essentially and all that sort of stuff. So I don't know. Maybe the crowd was kind of similar in that. But he took some big hits, and I think it was 9 or 10 pressures. 3 sacks? I think it was, maybe 4 sacks. But he took some big hits for sure.
Sean, look, George and I are going to be talking about this schedule moving forward now with Drake Maye. I mean, you look at some of these games, brother, obviously the Jags across the pond, they're a mess. I mean, the Titans now all of a sudden looks like maybe worse than the Patriots offensively in this league. I don't know. The Colts are a mess. They're on the schedule. The Cardinals are a mess. They're on all of a sudden now. You look up, and with this kid, there's a little bit of hope. George and I are going to go through these game by game, but I just want to get sort of a macro view from you, a big picture view here, S-Mac, of how you're feeling with Drake moving forward. That some of these games maybe you thought and you penciled in as a loss. Are you using that eraser now, and you're looking like maybe you're considering them coin flip games, so to speak?
Yeah, I don't know. So I actually looked, and I thought this was interesting that the Patriots win total went from 5.5 before week 5. So then Jacoby goes out, another dud against the Dolphins, and then it actually dropped when Drake came in, heading into week 6 to 4.5. And I saw 4.5. I'm like, that's enticing. I think the schedule does open up a little bit here. You get the Jags again. You get the Jets after that. Then there's a few games that I think, and I also think if Drake was playing last week, based on this performance today, and maybe it's fair, maybe it's not, I think they win that game in week 5. So I think that I'm not going to go ahead and say that they're going to finish 500 or anything like that, but I think there's a realistic path to 5 wins, 6 wins. And we'll see how it goes, but the schedule certainly opens up. And I do think for his mount, and I agreed with this at the time too, that when they were throwing him in this week, it was a tough spot, and it proved to be a tough spot, obviously. But they did that, and now it's behind him. He's not no season-ending injuries or anything like that, and now he has that game experience to go against the Jags. And I think those are you get the Jags, you get the Jets at home against a team that doesn't even have a head coach really. So I think there's a few wins on the schedule over the next 4 to 6 weeks.
I could hug you, S-Mac. I couldn't agree more. If they started him last week against the Dolphins, that's a win, no question. He makes a couple plays here or there, and that's the difference. I couldn't agree more.
Situation still wasn't ready for him, and we'll see. I mean, that's a guy, 4 sacks, hit 10 times, 14 pressures, 13 without a blitz on the Patriots, against the Patriots, by this Texans defense, which is really good.
It is.
Again, also, can you keep Drake Maye intact on the progress you've made? Because as those hits pile up, and he was getting rushed at certain points, you don't want that to keep happening as it goes. Sean, we'll end with this real quick. We normally do studs and duds, 3 and 3. Yeah. Give me one stud, one dud you have, I'm sure from the article you already have out on NESN.com.
I think for a stud, I think you got to go with Pop Douglas. I mean, just to see his production and how he everything that came along with it. Again, like I said, 90 plus yards, a handful of he was really pivotal on that first half drive, or the drive at the end of the first half. Obviously, the long touchdown, his first of the career, so great for him. Duds, I think I got to go with just the run defense in general. I mean, they got gashed. They got gashed again. Devon Godshaw talked after the game. I don't know if you guys saw any of this, but he was pretty transparent. He really he shredded them. He let me pull up one of the quotes. Called it a. He called out their lack of pride. He called it a frustrating loss, called it an embarrassing loss. So that's a big voice in that room. And he clearly wasn't happy with the performance. So I would say that's one thing that really sticks out. I think they lost 41-21. So there are a handful of there. But I would say the run defense. And just before I head out quick, I heard you guys talking a little bit about Ben Brown. Bad backup center, third string, fourth string center at this point. I don't know what you want to call him, but guy was on a red-eye flight. He landed in Boston at like 6:45 on Thursday morning. He practiced on Thursday, practiced on Friday, obviously walked through on Saturday, found out today he was starting. So this guy had he must have had a dozen different reporters come up and talk to him one-on-one. We probably always all have the same quotes and everything like that, but it was good to talk to. Drake was walking out of the locker room. He said, good job to Ben Brown. So I just want to, before there's too much Ben Brown slander between you guys, I just want to say, good for this guy to step into such a crappy situation that he did.
I got it.
And good for him.
Yeah, good for him. It's a great feel-good story. I got all the tingles. I never want it again. Get me bona fide offensive lineman. Just the fact that this guy just waltzes in here. Yep. I mean, my God. Can we not go to Stop and Shop and Market Basket to get offensive linemen? Can we get
That's what they basically did.
Right.
I think it's
Can we get real professional offensive linemen here?
I'm not going to crap on Ben Brown. He's literally a college guard playing center. Exactly. I will crap on Elliott Wolf left and right because, again, the limitations we see with AVP. Why I didn't want Drake Maye starting even this week, and I don't want him starting next week. I don't care. Is because of the supporting next week? The structure around him. I don't want him starting right now with this offensive line. It sucks. He's going to start. I want him to start. No duh.
Yeah.
I don't want him starting yet because his offensive line stinks. We haven't seen the same starting five back to back. He's Sean McGuire. Let you get back to work out in Gillette. Thanks for holding it down. Thanks for hopping on the rush. Make sure to follow him on social media by Sean McGuire on Twitter, X, and catch him on NESN.com. Thanks, Sean.
Have a good night, guys.
I mean, GB, it's a feel-good story, but man.
No, it is. It's awesome. Good for you. I mean, that's awesome. He's a piece of history.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes down the line.
Congratulations. Yeah.
But this is Ben Brown. Short notice, catching a red eye, name starter day up for Drake Maye's debut.
Right.
And if Drake Maye goes on to be what we think he can be, it's going to be a great trivia answer one day.
It's a great story.
Drake Maye's first touchdown pass?
Yeah.
Kayshawn Boutte. Who was his starting center in his NFL debut? Ben Brown.
He could tell his grandkids about this, but I'm so sick of the scrap heap. You know what I mean?
It's the value again. It's the value of offensive linemen. You're not going to find a starting quality center, a starting quality left tackle walk in the streets because teams hold on to that. And it's a reflection on what Elliott Wolf has done, building this roster, then giving it to Gerard Mayo to say, make the most out of it by not actually filling it out with quality backup centers. Antonio Maffi, failed experiment. Nick Leverett, they benched him. For Ben Brown, who's a practice squatter. Again, it goes back to that. All right, let's go through. Win-loss, remaining schedule. Next week, Patriots in London.
Woo!
Get your brekkie ready. 9:30 kickoff. The Patriots taking on the Redcoats. The British are coming. Do it for Warren Tavern. Get the win. Who wins, Patriots or Jaguars in London?
I'll take the bloody Pats after what I saw from Drake Maye. How the hell can I not? Everyone's quitting on the Jaguars. Their season's over. That coach is getting fired. He might as well go rent a flat in London, bloke, because he ain't coming back to Jacksonville with this damn team. I'm telling you right now, give me Drake Maye in London. It's going to be great, George. The only thing you and I got to do, brother, we got to get some bottomless mimosas for that game because it's early in the morning. Just another reason to drink. So I'll take the Pats there. The rest of the schedule, I'm not so sure, though. Give me your Jags prediction.
Here's the thing. They just lost 41-21.
Yeah.
Drake Maye had two of the three turnovers are really bad.
Yeah.
They were almost even in time of possession. They were gifted an interception that literally went off Dalton Schultz's hands.
Yes.
We'll see how the ball bounces. I think this Jaguars team is dead. This Patriots team is reinvigorated.
Yep.
That's still a talented Jags team, but Trevor Lawrence is bad.
I'll take the Pats.
It's just a coin flip to me, and that's a really bad indictment on the Jaguars compared to what we're saying about the Pats.
Sure.
And the fact that it's a coin flip means a lot. It says a lot about the Patriots. You need me to put my 10 toes down, heels in the sand.
Stand on business.
I'll say it's a win for the Pats. I think they're further along. Now I'm thinking, I was wondering, look, what am I going to do? I'll wake up and watch a game. I might go to Warren Tavern. I feel like it's only right. Like, why not go where Paul Revere got drunk all the time? And, of course, a monumental piece of history. I might go to Warren Tavern, but it's difficult to go to Warren Tavern and not put down like 5 lunches. Because keep in mind, I have to work later that day. So we'll see. I could stick to the pumpkins. No. I can't talk myself into that. Week after that, they return back home.
Yeah,
hosting the Jets.
I don't love this.
We'll know more about the Jets after Monday Night Football.
I don't love this. Listen, that defense.
Now they're good.
I don't love the Jets, as you know, especially Rodgers, but I can't deny the defense, right? Like that's going to be tough sledding right there. I appreciate that they're coming back home and all that. But the way the fans are feeling right now, I don't know if it's the best home field advantage that we've seen in years past. I'll take the Jets there. I'm not going to go crazy here.
What is important to point out, that first touchdown pass by Drake Maye to Kayshon Boutte, the two of them said, hey, they're sitting on our routes.
Yeah.
Let's go deep. Let's go with a deep shot. Because the Patriots never had that deep ball threat all season long. They haven't had it with Jacoby.
That's right.
Credit to Drake Maye. Credit to Kayshon Boutte. Boutte got open. Maye put it on the dot. Deep downfield to him, dropping it in the bucket. Film will be out. They'll understand the threat, and that keeps defenses honest. Could open up more underneath. No matter what, I'm getting into it. I think the Patriots lose to the Jets at home, so they're 2-6.
I'm gonna start calling him Boutte. I'm not mature enough for these segments.
Yeah,
I'm calling him Boutte.
I'm not surprised. After that, on the road at the Titans, I don't know who their quarterback is going to be. Like, Will Levis stinks, man.
He is the worst. George, this guy sucks.
Now,
What's up with Will Levis?
Would you rather have Will Levis or Deshaun Watson?
Oh,
okay. So, what do you think they do against the Titans?
Will Levis, because he's not. I feel like he's not going to get in. He's not going to get in any trouble. You know what I mean? Deshaun's like
he only gets in trouble on the field,
right?
Right. Not to make it any less.
Well
of what
said.
Deshaun Watson is a POS.
Well said.
I'm not to water down what he did off the field.
POS.
Cool.
We're same page there. All right, look, that's a win. I'm going Drake Maye over Will Levis. Who's their backup?
Mason Rudolph.
I mean, it could
which is an upgrade on the offense because all they do is run the ball.
It could be Mason Rudolph against Drake Maye, dog.
I don't want to leave this game. Yeah, it could be. I don't want to leave this Patriots game without addressing how bad the defense was.
Yeah.
Jaguars have multiple receivers and a good run game. Jets, good receiver, good run game. Titans, good run game. I think they lose to the Titans on the road.
Really?
Yes. After that, tough one at the Bears.
What?
That's a loss.
Titans?
Yeah.
Well, Mason Rudolph, be damned. Doesn't even matter who's playing.
Let's think about the breaks
crazy.
they got, but also with the stops, like C.J. Stroud, end zone shot to Schultz. Bad bounce. Great play by Marcus Jones.
I hear you.
This is still a team that had 9 penalties. Bad penalties. They still are very undisciplined, and they got gashed on the ground.
Well,
it's really important. And this offensive line's in turmoil. I don't know.
We disagree on that one, but
Bears?
We're going to agree on this. Bears. I mean, Caleb's humming right now. I told you before the season I think the Bears are a playoff team, and right now I'm looking like I know what I'm talking about.
What about after that Bears game?
You agree lost then, right?
Lost to the Bears.
All right.
After the Bears game, home against the Rams. I don't know what that Rams team's going to be. They're bad right now.
Yeah, they are.
Sean McVay, I would take him over Gerard Mayo. That's just what it is. It's coaching.
McVay and Stafford, assuming Stafford's still upright by them. I'm going to go Rams. They're still trying to get healthy, too, the receivers. I'll go Rams there. That's just a tough assignment. Now, that defense isn't what it used to be.
No.
Drake, that could be the kind of game where Drake Maye has success in a losing effort.
I'm interested in the over for that one.
Yeah, me too.
After that home game against the Rams, on the road, November 24th, in South Beach, at Miami. I don't know what this Miami team's going to be. Weird stuff happens in Miami.
Well, I personally think that the Dolphins saying they care about Tua's health is lip service. I think Tua will be back by then, so I'm going to take the Dolphins. If that is not the case, and they're still playing with this Huntley kid, Drake Maye is winning that game.
So you have them at Just still 2 wins by now.
Yeah, I have them beating Jaguars in London, and I have them
Titans.
beating the Titans.
3 wins.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dolphins game's a coin flip.
If Tua's back, no, it's not.
It's Dolphins because of that offense.
That's right.
If Tua's back, I give the Dolphins a win there, so that's another L for the Pats.
Yes.
Home against the Colts. Yeah, this is the last game before the bye.
This is a coin flip game. I was wrong about the Colts. Where I'm bragging and patting myself on the back about the Bears, and it appears right now to be right, I look like a complete idiot with the Colts. I just felt like I thought Anthony Richardson was going to work. They're better off with Flacco. Yep. And now they got a real problem because Richardson's going to be ready to go, and they've invested in him, and he's supposedly the future and all that.
Play Richardson.
I don't think you can go away from Joe Flacco, and I just don't have any confidence. I think the Colts are having Groundhog's Day here. Richardson got hurt. Minshew damn near got him in the playoffs as a wild card, right? Now Richardson gets hurt, but he's coming back, whereas before he was like out indefinite. I think now he's going to come back, and they're just going to have to give the keys to Flacco, I think.
I think they play Richardson. He's only played, what,
really?
8-9 games.
Okay.
He's a top 5 pick. You got to play him. All right, I think it's at home against the
Colts.
It's tough. That's a coin flip, which says a lot about the Patriots. I think it's a loss still. Then out of the bye, on the road at Arizona against the Cardinals.
Listen, you know what?
Out of the bye.
I thought this would be a loss, like when I did my schedule earlier in the season. The Cardinals don't win games, dog. Like Kyler puts up numbers. He's a perfect fantasy football quarterback, right? Like It's like empty calories, George. It's like drinking a ton of light beers.
Yep.
Like, okay, I guess you'll get a little buzz, but I mean, like, look at all the calories you just consumed for what? So that's Kyler Murray to me. He just doesn't win enough. I think the Patriots could go on the road coming out of the bye and win that. There's no home field advantage in Arizona. Kyler doesn't win. He could look pretty good against the Patriots defense and lose. That's a coin flip.
This is a Cardinals defense that's bad. Like, rolls out of bed allowing 24 points.
Yeah.
This could be a shootout. Kyler, though, athletic quarterback, Patriots have a tough time containing them.
Sure.
We'll see how they do. I think because it's a West Coast trip, I think it's an L. I go loss.
All right.
Following that, this is like a tough stretch.
Yeah, it is.
At Arizona,
come
back east, then head up to Buffalo.
Yeah.
Mid-December to late December, the 22nd, up at Buffalo. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I think in both games with Buffalo, because they're going to see them in a couple weeks here again, I just think this isn't the same Bills team that could rest players, George. Like, they're going to be fighting for their playoff lives. I feel like they're going to lose both of those. I think they get swept. Games. They're going to get swept by the Bills.
What about that Chargers game in between? Chargers in New England.
That feels coin flip-ish only because the Chargers offense is so dependent on Justin Herbert. They don't really have anything else. I mean, they don't have a solid run game. They don't have solid receivers. It's Justin Herbert, be damned. And so I like Harbaugh. I think the Chargers will finish stronger than they have in the years past where they would choke at the end of a season. Yeah. I think because of Harbaugh, they'll finish stronger. I'm leaning Chargers win here, but I wouldn't be shocked if the Patriots can pull that off.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. This is going to be a 3-4. If they're a 5-win team, that's great.
That's a miracle.
That is great for the
Is
Patriots.
what that is.
That's still their forecast. This defense is concerning with their performance today against C.J. Stroud, but a C.J. Stroud that didn't even have to throw for more than 200 yards. It's what happened to them on the ground. Them getting gashed, that's where a lot of concern does. Drake Maye is great, but as we saw, Drake Maye and his ability doesn't translate to wins and losses, or even this team covering.
Yeah.
We'll see. Next week will be interesting when they take on the Jaguars. Hey, he's Travis Thomas from George Balekji. That's it for this episode of Foxboro Rush. Make sure to stay locked in all week long. New episodes dropping every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday as we lead into the second start of Drake Maye's career. May Watch is in the air. Make sure to follow us on social media, wherever you get your podcast too. Spotify, Apple, Amazon Prime. Please like, download, subscribe, rate, and review. And go to NESN's YouTube page, hit the subscribe button, and go to podcasts. You'll see the playlist. Foxboro Rush, Boston's End of the Chat.
Yes,
Hold
Lord.
my banner.
Yes, Lord.
We got them all right there. He's Double T. I'm GB. We'll see you guys next time.